And welcome to Weather and Ag in Focus on this frigid Monday, January 19th. A lot of people have off of work today for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So, hey, if you're having the day off, enjoy, relax, have fun, whatever. Just if you can do it indoors, probably a little more comfortable than outdoors. We're in the single digits above zero right now with wind chills still well below zero. And this week, well, this is going to be the warmest part of the week, as even colder and dangerously cold weather heading our way. By the weekend, by Friday and Saturday morning, we'll have wind chills between 40 and 50 below. So some pretty nasty cold heading our way as we head towards the end of the week. I'm Chief Meteorologist Wysocki, along with our Ag Director Bridgette Readel. And boy, what a weekend. Blizzards and just nasty, nasty driving. And all of that with just 1 inch of snow. So that just goes to show you that it doesn't matter the snow amounts, it's whatever else is going along with it. And when we had, 40, 50 mile an hour winds, boy, complete whiteout conditions on Sunday. Sunday was nasty.
Hear that noise? That loud cracking noise? That's every lake in the area making ice.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And plenty of it.
That's no doubt. We'll continue to add to that as we head throughout the week as the cold air continues to build. And we do have a couple of snow chances in the forecast as well. Not today, though. We're looking at, some high clouds throughout the area, some filtered sunshine. And we'll see those clouds start to thin out a little more as we head towards evening. We'll call it partly cloudy, 4 above today with the west-northwest wind 10 to 20. That'll start to relax a little bit towards evening. And then tonight we'll start off with clear skies, then turn partly cloudy late with lows about 10 below with the west wind on the light side. And a clipper system will bring light snow to the state on Tuesday. Most of that in the western and central parts of the state where they could pick up 1 to 2 inches. We're going to stay dry Tuesday during the day with highs about 12, 13, right around there. And then we'll see a little light snow in the valley Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Not looking for a lot out of that, maybe up to 1 inch, but that would be about it. Far northern valley, northwest Minnesota, probably not going to get much at all out of this. And highs on Wednesday will start off in the teens, then winds turn to the north and they'll pick up. Whatever little snow we do get, we'll probably see more blowing snow on Wednesday afternoon into Thursday as temperatures fall during the afternoon on Wednesday. Highs never make it above zero on Thursday, about 3 below. And then Thursday night, we're about 20 below. And then Friday, 10 above or 10 below, I should say, for a high with nighttime lows about 25 below. Wind chills approaching 50 below. And the weekend, not much better. We're below zero on Saturday, and then at least we make it into the single digits on Sunday. So we'll start our warming trend as we head into next week. I still don't see any big storms in terms of moisture on the horizon, just these little clipper systems coming through as we'll start to break that pattern down, though, as we head into early February. I don't see a big warm-up by any means, but I do see warmer temperatures than what we'll have this week. And according to the LRC, it does look like we'll see a few stormy periods, stormier than we did in January. We'll see stormier periods in February. So if you're a snow lover, I think our snow chances will increase a little bit as we kind of flip the weather pattern into the stormy part of the LRC cycle during the month of February.
And that stormy cycle, we don't know if that is going to bring us a lot of snow or just exactly what that's going to look like. We can't say that we're going to be piling it on quite yet.
No, I think we'll see more than we have this month. It does look like we definitely will see more than this month. But do we see one big storm on the horizon? A little too early to tell. But again, if you want to know more on the LRC, and we can highlight some of those, and I'm gonna post an article on the month of February tomorrow on what the month of February kind of looks like around here. Again, I'll post that tomorrow, what the LRC is calling for. And this hour's weather has been brought to you by Progressive Ag Risk Management.
There are some things going on these days in the Red River Valley when it comes to meetings and so forth. And Darren Hefty is going to be joining us today. We're going to talk about one that's happening tomorrow, actually, in the Hillsborough neighborhood. Somebody was in such a hurry to get there yesterday that the Highway Patrol, I believe they clocked him on a closed interstate at 104 miles an hour. That's a guy who's got to get to a meeting. Doesn't want to miss out on the excitement of talking about soil science.
Yikes.
as you said, visibility was poor. Maybe we could have slowed down and maybe not quite done that.
100. I can't even fathom that. It's closed, so he had to go around
A barrier.
and he's doing 104.
Or, I mean, I've done some speeds like that, but I don't think that doing them on a public highway was a good idea.
Or in a blizzard.
Right. Or in a blizzard. Blizzards can be bad.
Yowza.
And so we'll talk to Darren Hefty here coming up shortly. Also, we have a guest joining us today who is, well, she's been on the History Channel, and that is Sarah Wasberg Johnson. She's a food historian, North Dakota native. We're going to talk about some of the alliances from agriculture to food production because they're pretty strong, and I think Sarah's got some great takes on it. And for those of you who realize what's been going on with the farm financial stress, there may be some assistance for you to learn more. It's a webinar for producers and lenders to learn more about strategies and services to assist in managing financial stress in our current economy. It is being hosted by the North Dakota Farm Management Group and the Department of Health and Human Services. It'll be Thursday, February the 5th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Central Time. So we're going to have that link available if you need it, if you would like to register to attend to learn more. Love to have you be a part of that discussion. Now, in all of the things that we're doing today, you can be watching us on our live stream brought to us by Lighthouse Commodities. Lighthouse Commodities is hosting a meeting out in Bismarck that is going on tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. It will be held by Lighthouse Commodities and BW Fusion. There will be speakers on hand that are going to be talking about practical agronomy and market actionable ideas. And so if you want to join them tomorrow, again, that's Lighthouse Commodities in Bismarck. It will be at the North Dakota Gateway to Science Center. We also know that you can give us a call. Hopefully you're not doing 104 miles an hour on the interstate when you do it, but you can call us on the JLA Insurance phone line. And there's a lot of big changes coming for crop insurance in the 26 crop year. Higher premium subsidies, more coverage options, stronger benefits for beginning farmers. And that means better protection with less out-of-pocket costs. Nate Thorsrud at JLA Insurance. Well, Nate also farms, and he would be happy to help you sort out some of those questions that are going on in crop insurance. And you can call us as well, again, on our phone number, 701-293-9000. And you can send us emails. We watch our inboxes that are powered by Superior Grain Storage. They bring you grain storage, drying, and handling solutions. You can find more at superiorbins.com. But our emails, Dean's is weather@flagfamily.com. Mine is ag@flagfamily.com. So as we give a little chance for our guests to connect for today, other items that are going on right now, we're good to go. Darren is able to join us. So Darren Hefty, I hope it's not as cold or as blustery today near Baltic, South Dakota.
Well, it's not as cold and blustery, but it's still plenty cold and blustery. It's that time of year, and it's kind of fun. People talk to us all the time about, all right, so you're doing these workshops over the winter. Man, can people even make it there when it's this cold outside? And I'm thinking, yes, of course they can. Most farmers have got a 4-wheel drive pickup. They're happy to go somewhere, have a warm meal, have a great discussion with some other farmers. They're kind of cooped up on their own farm. So it's a great time of year for people to get together.
Well, I'm not sure if you were connected yet when I said that North Dakota Highway Patrol found someone doing 104 miles an hour yesterday on a closed I-29. Maybe they were in a hurry to get to Hillsboro for your meeting tomorrow, Darren.
I don't know if anybody that's going to be at that meeting would be driving quite that fast, but it's pretty interesting to see what people do out on the roads. And, there've been some tough road conditions at times. And then one of the things that's kind of cool too, that a lot of people in different parts of the world don't really understand when it gets so cold that even the ice can't stand on the road, that the ice is going to break up and go away too when it gets really cold. So I don't mind everything about the 20 or 30 below temps.
Well, I am excited in the fact that the ice has broken up. People can get there from here, and that means they can get to tomorrow's meeting in Hillsboro. So I've had questions from people who are coming from as far as Ohio and attending. So tell us why they would want to be at your event in Hillsboro tomorrow.
Well, it's going to be pretty fun. We're talking about not only how to control costs this year, but how to do it without sacrificing yield. And that's the biggest thing. There's always this trade-off with farmers. Well, do we put more money into this crop and gamble that there's going to be profit left at the end? Or do we try to cut costs and then hope that we don't hurt our yields? And then, of course, there's no profit left at the end of the year. So there is a happy medium of what items can you invest a little bit more on the farm that'll still give you a return on your investment so you can make profit at the end of the day. So we'll be talking about that in a wide variety of crops. That's the fun thing about working with growers as you move further north. It's not just strictly corn or soybeans. There are other crops in the rotation that they'll consider as well. So that's kind of fun to discuss.
I am really excited about it not just being a corn and soybean discussion. So when you say that, are we thinking things along the lines of sunflowers, dry edible beans, perhaps?
Oh, yeah. They'll both be on the table. And, the other thing that we'll talk about quite a bit is soils, which is really fun because people say, well, there's just great soil in the Red River Valley. And there's tremendous soil and lots of it. It's just, what are the challenges in it? And we see things like iron deficiency chlorosis in soybeans. We see higher levels of salts building up in certain areas and high pH and high magnesium in the soil. Lots of different challenges out there, but yet farmers in North Dakota are being very successful and farmers in Minnesota as well. And so we're going to talk about some of those things, how best to manage through them and still be really profitable on your farm because, hey, we've all got a certain amount of soil that we're blessed with in our area. And it's just a matter of how you're going to manage things on that soil to be the most successful you can be.
And Darren, here in the valley, we've had a lack of snow the last 2 winters, and so far the same this winter. How much of a lack of moisture? What kind of a role does that play into the soil as we go into the spring?
We want to have plentiful moisture in the soil, and we'd ideally like the soil to be half soil, a quarter air, and a quarter water. And it just seems like we never get the right balance. It's either half soil, 50% water, or half soil, 0% water. I'd love to find that happy medium where we get enough air and enough water in the soil that we can have ideal crop production. And, I might differ a little bit from you on this view. Once the soil is frozen, I'd prefer no more precipitation until spring.
Me too.
I like getting my moisture in the liquid form that I don't have to scoop.
Yep.
But maybe you've got kids that are scooping for you or a service that does that and you don't mind, or maybe you've got a snowmobile, you just like the recreation. I'm not sure, but I'd prefer to wait till spring for the moisture. But we do need some moisture in our area, and I will take that however it comes. So I'm not going to be choosy about that at this point.
I'm with Darren. I'm going to wait. I would like my moisture to come where it soaks into the ground. And speaking of that ground and soil, North Dakota State University recently released a quantifying number for the economic cost of topsoil loss when they estimate erosion. It says it could cost farmers more than $6,600 an acre if 6 inches of soil are removed. And that's nutrient loss, organic matter, and so forth. Is that probably part of your topic of conversation tomorrow at your meeting, Darren?
It's certainly a big deal. When we think about how valuable our topsoil is, the very most valuable part of that is the top inch. That's where we've got the highest concentration of nutrients. The highest concentration of living microbes in our soil is right up towards the top. So we definitely want to protect that as best we can. And it's a challenge when you've got a shorter growing season and you got really heavy black soils. So we will talk about some different soil management practices, honestly, some different ways of fertilizing and putting a crop in too, just to try to minimize that. And we've seen a big improvement over the last generation, but there's still room to grow.
So Darren's meeting, this is actually going to be put on at the new Hefty Seed facility on Highway 200A south of Hillsboro. Drove by it this morning, actually. So what time? Can people still register to attend, Darren? What are some of the details?
Absolutely. This is on Wednesday coming up this week, and you can register online at agphd.com, and it's from 9 a.m. until 2 p.m. So we're pretty excited about this. It's like I say, a new facility there. Really excited about that. Right on Highway 200. Very handy to jump off the interstate or to come across on Highway 200. So we'd love to see you there and bring your friends. And yeah, it's not too late to register.
That'd be great because yes, it is Wednesday. I kept thinking Tuesday, but it's a Wednesday event. And for folks, they get a chance to listen to Darren every day as well. I believe your radio show starts at 2 o'clock today, doesn't it?
That's correct. Yeah, 2 o'clock each weekday, and I love doing stuff on the radio too. But man, you put pressure on me by a video call here. This is different. I normally don't have to do that.
You're making it work, and you have that great mural behind you of your show place when you do the AgPhD field day every July. And I've already got my calendar marked, so we will be there. I hope others join us too, Darren.
And see, he's got the hair for TV, so I think he does good on video.
That's why you wear a cap.
That's why I wear a ball cap.
Well, it's going gray, but at least it's still hanging on my head. So I'm happy about that.
Go.
Darren Hefty.
Even working with my brother all these years, it's amazing. I've been able to keep my hair.
Very lucky. Darren, thank you for joining us today. Greatly appreciate the time and the excitement up and coming about your event this week.
Hey, thank you so much.
We will return, and after we get a livestock market update from the American Ag Network, we will be joined by Sarah Wasberg Johnson. She's a food historian, a North Dakota native, and I get to watch her on the History Channel. I hope you do too. So stay tuned for that discussion. Thank you for being here from the Coral Laundromat studio for Weather and Ag in Focus. Busy Monday, lots going on, but part of the fun is those guests who join us. And today we have Sarah Wasberg Johnson. Sarah is a North Dakota native. She's got a background here in maybe a little bit of background in farming, but she's a food historian. And I watched her on the Food Network, or excuse me, on the History Channel, which has been tremendously fun to see all of the knowledge that she brings. Then to find out she's from this region, we had a mutual friend. I'm like, oh, I'm going to tap into that source. So, Sarah, thanks for coming and joining us today on air. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Bridgette.
Okay, we said, what should we talk about today? Well, first of all, let's talk about how you got from this region to New York City and doing the things that you do.
So I'm a Fargo native, born and raised. My mom's family is from Kidder County. My great-grandparents were dairy farmers. I went to Concordia for history and Scandinavian studies, but I wanted to go into the museum field. So I went to grad school out east because there's a lot, at the time there were a lot more museum studies and public history programs out there. And my husband was from New York. We weren't married at the time, but I decided to go to New York for graduate school, and now I live in the Hudson Valley. So not quite New York City. I'm about 60 miles north. Although my day job, I commute down to the city. And of course, for the History Channel, we do a lot of filming in the city and in New Jersey. So yeah, that's kind of the long and short of it.
When you look around the region where you live, does it compare whatsoever to the region where you grew up? I mean, like you said, your grandparents were out in Kidder County. You had a little background in agriculture. Just simply, that's how we stem from ag to food. So do you see some similarities in what you've learned in both places?
Oh, definitely. So it's so funny. When I first moved out to the Hudson Valley, I thought it was going to be like wall-to-wall suburb, and it's not. It's really a lot like, eastern North Dakota, western Minnesota, a lot of little towns, but out here they're just all right next to each other instead of 30 miles apart. So I live in Orange County, New York, which is a pretty ag heavy county still. Like it's sort of a bedroom community for New York City, which is nuts because it takes like 2 hours to get there. But it's about as far north as you can live and still be like a New York City cop or firefighter. So we have a lot of those folks around here. But there's also a very, very long dairy heritage in Orange County. And in Monroe, New York, which is about 30 minutes from where I live, that's where Velveeta was invented. That's where Philadelphia cream cheese was invented. Not in Philadelphia. It was invented in Monroe, New York. And my husband is from the Mohawk River Valley up in the Utica area, basically on the Erie Canal. And that is also a very big dairying area. And historically, New York, my day job, I work a lot with the American Revolution history. And so New York in that time period was the breadbasket of the colonies, the big wheat producer, shipping all over the colonies to the Caribbean, all kinds of fun stuff. So, ag history and food history are really intertwined, obviously. But ag history has been around for a lot longer and is a little bit, has a little bit more street cred, I think, than food history. Food history is a little more recent, but I like to study food because everybody has to eat.
Yeah.
So everybody can relate to it, and also it's just very integral to our economy and to our culture and how we interact with the world. So I think it's super interesting.
So Grandma told me that I was a good eater. So I don't have many skills, but I got that one going for me. And that truly ties into agriculture, especially in this region. And we are excited to talk to Sarah today about some of those tie-ins. And for those of you listening, if you actually have some questions and you can't wait to ask somebody who would know, Sarah just might. And you can call us on the JLA Insurance phone line, 701-293-9000. We'll come back after our news with more questions for Sarah Wasberg Johnson. Some of us get our start in ag by doing internships, and perhaps the one we do here is for you. We have an assistant ag director join us each month. They are a student who comes on air and they help us interview guests, ask questions, and work behind the scenes as well. Our next intern will be on Wednesday of this week. We'll be joined by Wendy Jacobson. She's originally from the Divide County area in far northwestern North Dakota. And that program is sponsored by Cass County Farm Bureau. Thank you to them for being a part of ag education and communications. Our guest today is Sarah Wasberg Johnson. You've seen her on the History Channel. She's a food historian, and she's from this region. And so let's talk a little bit about the intertwining of ag and food, because I really feel like you can't talk about one without the other, right, Sarah?
That's right.
So interestingly enough, I had someone know I had posted the fact that you were going to be on with us today. And I had a follower say, so what's the most common agricultural commodity as a food ingredient? Is it corn? And that's probably a good question. What if we think
in the United States?
Yeah, let's
globally,
think,
historically.
Let's think about the U.S. and historically. How's that?
Yeah, for the U.S., I would probably say corn is up there, especially if we're looking at, pre-nation history. So corn was the primary grain crop of indigenous people, spread pretty quickly out of Central America and Mexico to a good chunk of the rest of North America. It's a fairly easy crop to grow, especially if you're giving it those nutrients that it likes. But it was a very important crop for early European settlers as well, because it's a native, plant that was cultivated by indigenous people. It's very well suited to a lot of different climates across the country. And it has a very high yield, typically, when you compare it to, grains from continental Europe. It's also very easy to process.
Oh.
So, you can hand process corn if you want to. Most people don't, but you can process corn. And it's much harder to do that with grains like wheat or barley or oats or rye or stuff like that, which is what's typically grown throughout Europe and North Africa. So, today it's probably not up there for food commodities because corn in the United States has a lot of non-food uses, but it's a pretty important crop globally now, and it started in the United States. So
okay, and speaking of globally, so Sarah, what would be the number one crop grown across the globe? Would it be wheat?
Actually,
it's probably rice.
It's rice.
Is it rice?
It's rice.
Yeah.
Yeah, because and Sarah can certainly speak to this on a global level, but there are just so many more countries where that's like their ancient grain.
Yeah, it's a staple grain for a lot of countries. Obviously Asia, Southeast Asia, but they're also growing. There's a lot of rice consumption in Europe as well. So it's not just the Middle East, South America, Central America. Everybody's eating rice except for us.
Yeah, we're not quite as good as
not
that.
a lot of rice consumption in North Dakota. Maybe there is more now, but when I was growing up, there wasn't a ton. So.
Depends if we're going out for Chinese food at lunch. So
or Mexican, lots of rice and Mexican food.
So if you think about the mechanization era that hit the U.S. and especially right around the end of World War II, we saw a huge rise in the ability to have self-propelled tractors. We weren't using coal or horses, etc. Is there a connection you can talk about that, how it really impacted our food as a nation and what changed our diets by being able to use some of those practices?
Yeah, so I think, it's interesting if we talk about the history of mechanization. North Dakota is really an early adopter. We had steam tractors on the bonanza farms in the 1870s and 80s, right? So We're real early adopters for that. But I think in terms of, gas-powered vehicles, a lot of the big run-up for that started with the First World War. And then we kind of had the ecological and market backlash that led to the Great Depression in the 1920s from that big ramp up of production. And you kind of see similar things with World War II. We're ramping up production to fund the war effort, to feed the war effort, and also to feed our allies. We did that in both world wars. We were sort of the breadbasket of Europe for our European allies. But we used technology post-war to really change, start to change how we ate. So we have not just, mechanization, which really reduced our reliance, particularly in the northern Great Plains, on farm hands. We didn't need as many of those anymore as we used to. And then you also have, changes in how people are eating, particularly with corn. And there was a lot of research in the 20s and 30s, in particular, into like corn oil and corn syrup. And then post-war, you start to get, hydrogenation and things like that to make more shelf-stable and high fructose corn syrup. So all of these things, and also our ag policies that made it very affordable for food processors to buy these commodity products, often for less than they cost to produce because of our agricultural policy. So that really kicked off a processing revolution in how we ate. World War II also introduced, flash freezing to the bulk of Americans. We really refined our canning processes nationally. So we started to have more food preservation. We have the rise of supermarkets. That was not really a thing for most Americans prior to World War II. After World War II, you started to see the spread of supermarkets where people are shopping for themselves, right? People have giant refrigerators, and you can go once a week instead of every day, or getting delivery if you lived in an urban area. So,
and even when you said that about refrigeration and freezing, so there were tractor companies like International Harvester built refrigerators. So there was such layer over layer of being able to collaborate to bring what we were using as technology, maybe in a field, so to speak, and bringing it really into the home. That was a big step.
A lot of this big, mechanization, like tractor companies and stuff during World War II, they got pressed into military service.
Oh, true. Yes.
So they started doing all kinds of things that maybe they weren't doing before, and then post-war, they sort of turned that expertise into churning out some nowadays what we consider kind of unusual products, right? Like refrigerators and washing machines and stuff that you don't expect a tractor company to do. But yeah, that was a side effect of that as well.
And Sarah, you had mentioned something that kind of jumped out at me when you mentioned high fructose corn syrup. Now, we used to have that when we were kids. Nobody blinked an eye at it. Now, all of a sudden, oh my goodness, it's so bad for you. What's the truth behind this?
Well, I'm not a nutrition scientist, so I don't know if I can say too much about the efficacy. But I think one thing that scientists are really starting to study is the impact of ultra processing on foods. And you hear ultra processed foods thrown around a lot, and the definition is kind of loose, in my opinion. It can be applied from everything from bread and cheese to Doritos and stuff. So, but one of the things that our technology was doing post-war were like extruding things, like a lot of breakfast cereals are high velocity extruding.
Yep.
You can thank the Quaker Oats company for that development. And kind of this changing foods on sort of the molecular level that nutrition scientists and scientists in general are starting to research the impacts of. The history of American technology is we figure something out and we just implement it, and we don't necessarily study the long-term impacts of it. And so I think, we're starting to see some of those long-term impacts. But, again, like ag policy, particularly under Earl Butz Jr. and like the fence row to fence row, get bigger, get out mentality, and kind of changing our farm loan program to subsidies, like that all made it much cheaper for food processors to invest money in all these new ways to use all of these cheap commodities that maybe they wouldn't have otherwise if our farm policies had been a little different. So I prefer sugar, honestly, to high fructose corn syrup, but it's cheap. It's cheap, and
Sure.
that's why people use it. So,
And that kind of brings us to one of the projects that you're working in, and that's decoding vintage cookbooks. Because, frankly, that was when corn syrup. My mom used it to make, and grandma used it to make candies and so forth, because they were, as you said, they were easier to work with. They were priced right, etc. So when you think about your project with cookbooks, the first thing I thought of was all these farm wife kitchens where they were using wood or coal stoves, excuse me. And then
yep.
how do you translate that to today? I've been fascinated by the Gilded Age and actually made a Boston brown bread where I had to steam it. Not a common practice today. How do you translate that to an oven, right? So all of those things are where your heart lies too.
Yeah, and I have to say vintage cookbooks, well, aside from like Laura Ingalls Wilder and the American Girl books, vintage cookbooks were kind of like my gateway drug into food history. I think the first cookbook that really got me interested in food history was Jean Anderson's Good Food, which is a bicentennial cookbook where she's like documenting and interviewing regional foodways around the country, which was a really great read. If if it's at the library, you find it online. It's a fun read. But yeah, I'm a self-taught cook. I learned some from my mom and my grandmas, but I've learned more by reading and doing, right? And those vintage cookbooks, man, sometimes they're just incomprehensible. And I always wanted to know, well, what the heck is pet milk? And what's oleo, and what does a quick oven mean, and stuff like that. So it's fun to go down those rabbit holes.
Sarah, food and farming go together. They're just naturally, right? And it is so much fun to hear how you have intertwined those together. In our last few moments, the question I have to ask is this. You've studied the history of our food, and you've seen how cyclical those trends can be. What's the trend that's coming next? Do you have an idea?
Oh, gosh. Why are you asking a historian to predict the future? Gosh, I mean, I've read some of the predictions. I think one thing that I hope is a trend in the future, because I'm really interested in it, is that Americans start eating more beans.
Oh,
right. I think, especially with beef prices where they are, and meat prices going up and all that fun stuff for the variety of reasons that's happening. I am not a vegetarian, but I like to eat a lot of vegetarian, or flexitarian, I guess you could call it, food, where you're adding lots of vegetables to meat to kind of stretch it out and make it a little healthier to eat. So I love beans. I hope other people start to get curious about beans and eating beans. And North Dakota produces a lot of beans. North Dakota, Minnesota, Upper Great Plains.
We are. We are very high in production for those. So
we should become bean eaters as well.
Beans, the musical food.
No,
the more you eat.
There you go. Sarah,
Bridgette.
Well, if you weren't going to say it, I was.
Yeah.
So.
Sarah, thank you so very much. It is so much fun to visit with you and just get a snippet of the things that you do and your interrelation with food and farming.
Great to be on. Thanks for having me, guys.
Thank you, Sarah. And we've got to get a qualifier here before we go to break for our Vegas Valentine's Day giveaway. And today's qualifier is Dusty Robinson of West Fargo. Dusty, you have 11 minutes to call, 701-293-9000. Again, Dusty Robinson of West Fargo. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. And welcome back to Weather and Ag in Focus. And again, we're still looking for our qualifier, Dusty Robinson of West Fargo. Addison, how long does Dusty have left to phone in? 5 minutes. If you know Dusty Robinson of West Fargo, shoot him a message. Say, hey, you got 5 minutes. Call in 701-293-9000. Again, 701-293-9000. Dusty Robinson waiting for your phone call so we can get you to qualify for our Valentine's Day Vegas giveaway.
Maybe Dusty's busy doing his field check assessment for Tech Support Farm, making sure that his cybersecurity is all taken care of. If that's the case, that you still have time to call us, but let's not dally, or, dilly-dally around there. Let's get this done.
Are we just shortening it to dally?
It's just
Don't dilly-dally, but get this thing done. If you're going to dally, that means we're like team roping. But anywho, feel free to give us a call and then do your Tech Support Farm checkup later.
Right. All right. Well, and we have winter feel headed our way. If you're probably thinking, what? It hasn't already? I mean, we had a blizzard over the weekend, but we've got the coldest weather of the season heading our way as we head throughout this week, especially late in the week. It's a cold one today, though. We're looking at temperatures out there in the single digits above zero, and we're not going to go much further from where we're at right now. 4 or 5 above is about it. And the winds will be calming down a little bit out of the west-northwest at 10 to 15. Tonight, winds will be a lot lighter out of the west. We'll have clear to partly cloudy skies and dropping down to about 10 below. And for your Tuesday, we'll see the winds out of the west-southwest on the lighter side, 5 to 10. And we'll see increasing clouds out ahead of our next Clipper system. We'll have highs in the lower teens, about 12, 13. We will see a band of snow stretching from about Williston through Bismarck and down into South Dakota for tomorrow. We might get grazed by that here in the FM area, but most of that's staying to our south and out to our west, where they could get about 1 to 2 inches from Williston through Bismarck and again down into north central and northeastern parts of South Dakota. And then another Clipper system quickly on its heels on Tuesday night and Wednesday. That will give us a slightly better chance of snow for, let's say, a line from about Devil's Lake through Fargo and through the Twin Cities. So the Northern Valley, Northwest Minnesota getting left out of that Clipper system. And that'd be about a ½ inch to maybe an inch. And behind that, Arctic air pours in. So the winds will ramp up again Wednesday and Thursday. Nothing like we had over the weekend, but we're still looking at 20 to 30 mile an hour wind gusts on Wednesday and Thursday. So we could have some more blowing snow issues. We'll keep an eye on that. And then temperatures Thursday below zero. Friday, the high around 10 below. Friday morning and Saturday morning, we're looking at lows between 20 and 27 below. Wind chills will be approaching 50 below as we head into the end of the week and into the start of the weekend. So dangerously, dangerously cold weather heading our way. Thankfully, it's only for about 3-4 days before things start to moderate a little bit as we head into next week, back into the teens at least. And I do see by the start of February, I think we'll get back into that 20s range, so a little more tolerable cold weather. So at least this Arctic air isn't going to last weeks on end, so that's the good news there. And still no big snow events on the horizon. Sorry for all you snow lovers.
So February.
We still have February and March, no doubt. So for Bridgette, myself, I want to thank everybody for joining us on Weather and Ag in Focus. Don't go anywhere. The Jay Thomas Show, it's coming up next.